Let's open the door to darkness with these 15 underrated horror movies that deserve your attention. Please make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Number 15, Spoonful of Sugar.
I think your son is really special.
I'm glad you're here.
Do you like her more than mommy?
A graduate student named Millicent takes a semester off to babysit a severely allergic, nonverbal boy named Johnny, only to find the job is a gateway into a surreal psychosexual nightmare. What starts as thesis work on childhood allergies turns into a tangled obsession. Millicent begins microdosing LSD, slipping into hallucinations while trying to replace Johnny's distant mother and flirt with his carpentry-obsessed father. As boundaries warp and darker secrets surface, the facade of the perfect family cracks, and Millicent is drawn deeper into a vortex of manipulation, power, and twisted nurture. Director Mercedes Bryce Morgan crafts a hallucinogenic domestic horror that unsettles not with monsters but with the distortion of the familiar. Number 14, A Wounded Fawn. When Meredith, a soft-spoken museum curator, agrees to a secluded weekend getaway with a charismatic new lover, she's unaware she's stepping into a waking nightmare. What begins as flirtation quickly turns into a spiraling descent into madness as her date reveals himself to be a serial killer haunted by bizarre visions and mythological delusions. Trapped in a remote cabin, Meredith must navigate a surreal maze of terror where hallucinations bleed into reality and every shadow whispers death. The film blends Grecian allegory with visceral slasher violence, creating a hypnotic descent into chaos and bloodlust. Directed by Travis Stevens, A Wounded Fawn is a psychedelic horror vision that blurs the line between sanity and slaughter, seduction and savagery, offering a chilling look into the predator's mind unraveling from within. Number 13, Gwen.
I have a cell to found. This is our home.
Dear Lord, we thank you for the quarry.
A young farm girl named Gwen lives with her mother and little sister in the windswept hills of North Wales, trying to keep their household from collapsing while her father is absent, and a ruthless mining company looms in the background. Strange illnesses strike, livestock die, and the land itself seems to turn against them as townsfolk whisper and superstition spreads. The bleak, remote setting becomes a character in its own right, steeped in folk dread and the cruelty of industrial encroachment. What makes the film unique is its blend of historical hardship and gothic folk horror, where the external menace of profiteering collides with the internal terror of illness and isolation. Directed by William McGregor, Gwen is a haunting meditation on the breakdown of home and the invisible forces that pry it apart. Number 12, The Vigil.
The magic. It will make you see terrible things.
Yaakov Ronan, a young man who has recently left his Hasidic Jewish community, is struggling with trauma, unemployment, and a sense of not belonging. When his former rabbi offers him a job to sidit by the body of a deceased Holocaust survivor overnight as a shomer, Yaakov agrees for the money. But the night spirals into horror. The corpse's house becomes the domain of a malignant spirit known as the Mazik, and Yaakov is forced to confront not only this ancient evil but the ghosts of his own past. With each creaking floorboard and flickering light, the boundaries between ritual faith and nightmare unravel. Directed by Keith Thomas, The Vigil fuses folkloric dread with psychological unease, turning a one-night watch into an unrelenting descent into darkness. Number 11, Fear of Rain.
Did you hear that?
What?
Girl next door, she was screaming for help.
17-year-old Rain Burrows suffers from early-onset schizophrenia and struggles to distinguish her vivid hallucinations from reality. When she becomes convinced that her enigmatic next-door neighbor is hiding a kidnapped child in her attic, her parents' attempts to help feel increasingly like they're silencing her. The film traps us in Rain's fractured perspective, a world where trust is elusive and every whisper, shadow, or distant cry could be imagined, or all too real. The tension surges as Rain allies with Caleb, a newcomer at school whose existence she doubts, and together they peel back the layers of secrecy and fear. Fear of Rain is a haunting descent into a teenage mind besieged by illness and the dread that, for once, She might actually be right. Number 10. The Wait.
Corrompe. Y cuando te ha envilecido, demanda tu sangre.
Deep in the untamed Andalusian wilderness, a modest gamekeeper takes on a new job at a secluded estate, where silence stretches longer than the horizon. Tasked with managing wildlife for a wealthy landowner, he begins to sense something is off. An invisible weight in the air, a lurking presence beneath the trees. As time passes, strange events unsettle the quiet routine, and his decisions ripple outward with devastating consequence. The land, once peaceful, grows hostile, and guilt creeps in like fog, suffocating and relentless. Through whispered warnings and eerie encounters, he's drawn into a slow-burning spiral where isolation breeds madness and nature becomes a judge. The Wait is a grim and atmospheric folk horror tale that strips down the soul under the pressure of silence, sorrow, and superstition. Number 9. Dorothy.
How long will it take to fix this?
Scrap. Even if we could get the parts, it would cost.
On a remote Irish isle, whispers surround Dorothy Mills, a troubled teenager accused of trying to strangle an infant while babysitting, yet she insists she did no such thing. A Dublin psychiatrist, Jane Van Dopp, grieving her own losses, is sent to untangle the mystery and assess Dorothy's fractured psyche amidst a tightly knit community that clings to its own traditions and faith. As Jane probes deeper, she confronts a tangled weave of psychological shadows, shifting personalities, and eerie revelations that blur the line between clinical disorder and the inexplicable. Director Agnès Merlet crafts a slow-burn psychological horror that leans into the unsettling atmosphere of secrecy, suspicion, and the hidden pains of a small world bracing against an outsider's scrutiny. Number 8. Becky.
Hey! You're clearly a special girl!
I don't want to have to hurt you.
But I do want to hurt you. Real.
13-year-old Becky Hooper and her father Jeff escape to their remote lake house in an attempt to heal after the recent loss of her mother. When a ruthless gang of escaped neo-Nazis led by Dominic storms, their retreat, the tense father-daughter weekend, becomes a fight for survival. Becky's rebellious spirit is put to the test as she uses her intelligence, makeshift traps, and sheer determination to defend her home, her father's new fiancée Kayla, and Kayla's young son Ty. The invasion forces Becky to confront her grief, her anger, and the trust she still needs to give. Explosive, bold, and surprising in its lead performance, this action horror is as much about a girl's fight for family as it is about the battle raging at the lake house. Number 7. Reflection in a Dead Diamond. John D., a once suave spy now retired and spending his golden years in a luxurious hotel on the Côte d'Azur, thinks he's escaped danger. But when the alluring woman next door vanishes without a trace, the illusion of peace shatters, and John's memories begin to bleed into his present. What unfolds is a wild, fractured odyssey through sunlit beaches, neon hotel corridors, and kaleidoscopic flashbacks to the spy games and femme fatales of his youth. The film plunges headfirst into a pastiche of 1960s Euro spy thrillers, complete with diamonds, mirrored dresses, shifting identities, and a villain whose menace is as hypnotic as it is elusive. As John chases fading shadows, reality warps, and every reflection hides a new threat. Number 6. Cold Prey. In the icy wilderness of Norway's mountains, 5 friends seek thrills on untouched slopes, but when one is injured, the group takes refuge in an abandoned ski lodge buried deep in the snow. Isolated and miles from help, they try to wait out the storm, but the lodge holds secrets and something else is waiting with them in the dark. As night falls, the friends vanish one by one, hunted by a presence that knows every shadow and hallway. With no phone signal, no working power, and no way down the mountain, survival becomes a desperate game in a place long forgotten by time. Directed by Roar Uthaug, Cold Prey blends classic slasher terror with icy isolation, building relentless tension in a frozen tomb where escape is just a dream. Number 5. Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. Before he became the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln discovered a hidden world lurking behind the nation's greatest horrors. A secret society of vampires feeding on the blood of the enslaved. After witnessing his mother's murder by one of these creatures, young Abe trains in secret under the guidance of a mysterious mentor, mastering the art of vampire killing with a silver-edged axe and relentless fury. As he rises in political power, he balances public duty with nightly battles against a growing vampire army intent on controlling America through blood and war. The Civil War becomes more than a clash of ideals. It's a fight against the undead. History is rewritten with fangs and fury in this stylized, action-packed reimagining of a national icon. Number 4, Soft and Quiet.
Are the best secret weapon that no one checks at the door because dread.
Emily, an elementary school teacher with a polite smile and a homemade pie wrapped in foil, seems like just another neighbor preparing for a casual afternoon. When she hosts a small gathering of like-minded women, their conversations initially drift between trivial complaints and everyday banter, until a simmering undercurrent of resentment begins to surface, revealing beliefs far darker than polite civility. What starts as a simple social meetup erupts into a volatile chain of events that expose how quickly ordinary people can slip into ruthless actions and terrifying violence. Soft and Quiet is shot in real time to resemble a single continuous take, forcing viewers to witness the unraveling brutality up close as previously hidden ideologies reveal themselves with horrifying intensity. Number 3, Cold Storage.
Spread.
Deep beneath a quiet self-storage facility, something hidden begins to stir. When a highly classified containment system fails, a small group of employees are caught inside as an unknown biological threat starts to spread. What begins as a routine night shift spirals into a harrowing fight to stay alive within a sealed environment, turning more dangerous by the hour. Directed by Johnny Campbell, Cold Storage is a tightly wound sci-fi horror tale based on the novel by David Kuip. With its blend of eerie isolation, rapid escalation, and an unseen force evolving behind locked doors, the film builds a suffocating sense of unease. As the characters struggle to understand the nature of what they're facing, the stakes rise far beyond their own survival. Number 2, Possessor. In a stark, future-adjacent world, elite assassin Tasia Voss uses a high-tech brain implant to hijack other people's bodies and execute kills while her own physical self remains remote. When her latest assignment goes wrong, the layers between host and occupier collapse. Identity fractures, violence becomes personal, and the ghost of the controlled begins to fight back. As Tasia's home life, memory, and selfhood unravel, the mission mutates into a claustrophobic showdown of will and flesh. Directed by Brandon Cronenberg with its sleek clinical aesthetic and merciless pounding of nerves, Possessor unsettles by rendering the horror inside the body visible and inescapable. Number 1, A Cure for Welness.
Are you ready, Mr. Lockhart?
Lockhart, an ambitious executive, is sent to retrieve his company's missing CEO from an exclusive wellness center nestled in the Swiss Alps. But what begins as a simple assignment spirals into a waking nightmare. Directed by Gore Verbinski, the film draws us into a beautifully sterile world of spas, steam, and silence, where patients drink from glass vials and speak in hushed tones about the cure. As Lockhart endures strange treatments and his questions are brushed aside, he realizes the retreat's serene exterior masks something far more sinister. The deeper he digs, the more he uncovers unsettling rituals, twisted medical practices, and a long-buried history that refuses to stay hidden. A Cure for Welness unfolds like a poisoned lullaby, hypnotic, surreal, and slowly tightening its grip with every moment Lockhart tries to escape. Here are 4 other movies you have to see. Last Straw.
911, where's your emergency?
I got these kids harassing me.
Why are you doing this?
After firing her staff, Nancy takes on a late shift alone at her father's isolated diner, only to find herself stalked by masked intruders. As the night unfolds, routine transforms into chaos and the fluorescent-lit stillness turns deadly. Trapped in a pressure cooker of fear, she's forced to defend herself against an unknown threat with nowhere to run. The film blends minimalist terror with raw survival in a diner where every order could be your last. Citadel. The film centers on a young father living with debilitating fear after a terrifying attack on his family. Leaves him shaken and struggling to leave his home. When he must venture back into the world to protect his child, his deepest anxieties are put to the test. The story blends psychological tension with ominous threats that seem to lurk just beyond the edges of his vision. Candyland.
You are so beautiful. Oh, you don't have to be scared. I couldn't hurt a fly.
Remy, a young woman exiled from a religious cult, falls into the world of truck stop sex workers known as lot lizards. As she navigates their dangerous lifestyle, she's drawn into a spiral of bloodshed, survival, and repressed desire. The film confronts faith, sexuality, and violence in a raw, grindhouse atmosphere drenched in neon and diesel fumes. With each act of transgression, Remy transforms from lost soul to something far darker. The Atticus Institute.
They want to control everything, but they can't. It's too powerful.
A 1970s experimental research facility is established to explore paranormal phenomena and push the boundaries of human ability. What starts as an academic pursuit quickly shifts into unsettling territory when one subject's apparent powers defy easy explanation. The Institute becomes the focus of military interest as events escalate beyond the control of its staff.